I know doctors who will not prescribe less than 200 milligrams for TRT, which is nonsense. 200 milligrams is not a replacement dose in almost all individuals, okay? A true replacement dose would be What's up, guys? So today we are going to do a little bit of a different type of video. I'm going to be reacting to a clip from the Joe Rogan Experience with Dr. Andrew Huberman. Huberman has gotten very popular in the last, I guess, couple of years, mostly in the last year or so. I've seen him pop up over and over and over again. And I think his content is fine. I mean, certainly there are things that I disagree with, but a lot of it is fine. I think, like a lot of people in the space, certain claims maybe need to be backed up a little bit more by the current evidence. But I can understand that if you're talking for hours and hours and hours, it's hard to necessarily say everything correctly. So it's not necessarily a call out on that. It's more just a general reaction to the topic here of TRT. And, you know, again, I made a video on Mark Lobliner talking about this. And in this case, it's Joe Rogan, who is a pretty big advocate, it seems like, for testosterone replacement therapy. And just somewhat of the shock that I have of not understanding a drug, a powerful drug that is being taken. So we're going to watch this clip together.
Just say it. I mean, I don't like basketball anyway, enough that I would worry that but I know someone who's a professional basketball player, and I asked him about steroids. And he said, well, if you get injured, you can take up to 200 mgs a week, which is considered a TRT dose. But that's actually a pretty big dose. That's a one to...
So just want to comment there. I like that Andrew says this because that is true. I know doctors who will not prescribe less than 200 milligrams for TRT, which is nonsense. 200 milligrams is not a replacement dose in almost all individuals, okay? A true replacement dose would be really 70 even, up to 120 milligrams per week, you know, and depending on the dosing and whatnot in your response to it. But that's more of a real replacement dose. I'm not saying 200 milligrams is going to kill you. I'm not saying that it's this huge problem, but it's not a replacement dose in almost all instances.
Like a 1 ml injection. That's a significant difference. That's going to
wait, hold on. It's a 1 milliliter?
So the typical dosage of testosterone is 200 milligrams per ml per
so
ml.
1 cc is how many milligrams?
1 ml.
1 ml.
Yeah.
So these guys are taking 2?
No, they're taking one of those a week is what they're allowed to take.
That's fucking huge.
Right, because most people are either we talked about this, I think, before, but breaking that up into some smaller injections amounts is probably better to just keep androgen levels more reasonable.
But what's a normal level that people take per week?
100 to 200 milligrams per.
So again, just right here, Joe Rogan, who's been on TRT, I think a couple of decades now, at least a decade, who has this response like 200 milligrams is huge. It's more than a replacement dose, but I wouldn't say it's huge. And then to then ask, well, what's a normal amount per week? It's just very strange who somebody who has had, and you know, I actually really like Joe Rogan's commentary on MMA. He's probably my favorite commentator for MMA. And just in general, I'm a fan of the podcast, or at least some of the guests on the podcast. And we've had people from the fitness industry on the podcast who have done a good job there. But to not understand something like that you've been taking for so long, and especially when you have access to all of these experts, is quite surprising.
Per week is pretty typical. Typically
so that's
spread out.
Like 0.2 of a cc.
So so if you're thinking cc's, like someone might divide that into half a cc on Monday, half a cc on Thursday. Right? That's a reasonable thing,
but that's still a lot.
It's still a lot. I mean,
half a cc. That's,
yeah, I couldn't take that much.
On you'd be raging.
Yeah, exactly. Most typical now, people will take somewhere. It pays to think.
So again, I mean, look, Joe Rogan. I would be fairly confident to say that Joe Rogan has taken more than just TRT at points in his life. But even if he is on just TRT, I would be shocked if he was on less than 100 milligrams per week. So, and Huberman just said 1 to 200 milligrams per week is pretty common. And yet Joe's reaction is, well, you would be raging on that dose.
10 and 40 milligrams every third day or so, right? You just think about that. So
10
about
and 40, really?
Yeah, somewhere between 10. Yeah, because some people, came into it with their testosterone at 650. And when you talk about replacement, nowadays people will prescribe
40 is so high.
40 milligrams.
Okay. And again, now he's going even lower and saying 10 to 40 every third day, which is odd that he would even say that because that's really not common, I would say. I mean, 10 milligrams every third day is almost nothing. I mean, that is, you would be probably below even the bottom of the reference range if you were only taking 10 milligrams of testosterone every third day. So I'm not sure why he would say that. There are people who do microdosing daily, like 10 milligrams per day, which would obviously be 70 milligrams per week, which would still be pretty much the lowest you'd want to take if you are taking testosterone. But that is pretty surprising to hear Huberman say that. 40 milligrams every third day would be fine. But even at these very low numbers that he's saying, Joe still seems shocked that it's quote unquote that high.
20 milligrams, per week or so.
It seems a
40
lot.
on Monday, 40 on Wednesday, 40 on Friday.
I take 1.5 every 4 days.
1.5.
Like if you look at a 1 cc.
Yeah, you take the little.
Yeah, a little tiny.
So that's
like
30
that amount.
That's 30 milligrams every 4 days. Yeah, but you probably have
1.5 is 30?
Okay, wait, we're talking, is it 0.15 or 1.5?
1.5. So like if 1 cc is 10.
So you're taking.
It goes to 10.
Yeah.
It's like that big.
Yeah, but it's 200 mgs per mil. So for every little notch on there, every 0.15 or 1.5?
1.5.
So like 20 milligrams. That's what.
So even so if it reads 1, that's 20 milligrams.
So that goes 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, up to 1 if it's a 1 ml syringe, 1 cc.
1 cc.
And so are you taking the whole syringe worth every 4 days?
No.
Then you're taking far less.
Just to the number 1
the
out of
0.1.
10.
Yeah, so you're doing the 0.1. So if you look close, so you're taking.
I'm taking 0.1.
There are a number of people I know who have seen this that I'm sure are ripping their hair out trying to follow this conversation.
That's 1 cc.
Correct.
I take 1.5.
Every
4 days.
So you're taking a very low dose. You're taking, if it's 200 mgs per mil, which almost certainly it is in this country, testosterone cypionate, it's going to be, you are taking 30 milligrams every 4 days.
So some people take up to 4?
Some people are taking essentially more than 3 times what you're taking is allowed, according to this player, right? I don't want the NBA to come out.
Yeah, that would shock me if he's actually taking 30 milligrams of testosterone every 4 days, so not even twice a week. I would be very, very surprised if Joe Rogan is only taking that dose. I mean, highly unlikely. I don't know of anybody outside of like real patients of endocrinologists and urologists who take such a low dose. Even in those cases, they usually take 100 milligrams or so per week. But I'd be very surprised if this was accurate.
They must be raging.
Either they're going to come after me to
I'm looking into an article about it just to see what they were saying. This is on ESPN.
So like I said, this isn't meant to be a call out on Huberman at all. I think Huberman did a great job with the topic. He really tried to clarify, okay, are you talking about 1 milliliter? Are you talking about 0.1 milliliters? Maybe some small mathematical errors there with the dosing and whatnot, but I don't think that's necessarily a problem. It's more just that this is very common, though, for people to be taking testosterone or other steroids for years and then advocate for it. And again, to Joe's credit, he often says, I'm not an expert on this. I don't know what I'm talking about. Not just specifically that, but just in general, I do think he basically says that the people who come on are much more of an expert on a given topic. However, when you have this huge platform, and I've heard him talk about testosterone replacement therapy and how amazing it is and all these benefits, it's shocking, truly, almost as shocking as him thinking that 100-pound dumbbell in that one video was real. That was probably the most shocking as somebody who's lifted for so long.
That's real. That's a real weight. Whether or not that weighs 100 pounds, it might weigh 100 pounds. I don't believe that he has a fake 100-pound weight. He's a big person. I think that guy's pretty
strong
large.
Dude. I'm sure he's not. I'm sure the weight isn't fake.
I saw these people that are complaining and saying it's not real and all this shit. Listen, you can do that. That can be done. People who think you can't do that are crazy.
But to be on TRT for so many years and to not understand the dose, it's more just speaking globally to an issue that if you're going to be taking any drug, but something that is going to have long-term effects and shut your own natural production down, it's very important to understand what you're getting into and what you're taking and what the potential side effects are. I would have to imagine that Joe Rogan has some great doctors who are looking at his blood work and taking care of a lot of this for him. So maybe you could argue, well, he doesn't need to know it because people are taking care of it for him. But I think everybody should know about their health and should be aware of the pros and cons of anything that they're doing. So again, I'm not saying that this is for or against TRT, and I'm not specifically calling out any individual or trying to demean any individual, I should say. However, just globally, if you were going to be doing anything like that, any drug that can have significant side effects, which is most drugs at certain doses, you should be aware. I just want to talk about this clip because I know I had a lot of people DM me about it. I made an Instagram story about it. This was a rough 5 minutes to get through. So if you like this format of reacting to certain clips as we watch it, let me know in the comments section. Subscribe for more, give it a thumbs up, and share the video. I will see you guys next time.